Hello everyone, we are back. Finally got the new office set up. Finally finished kind of moving all my stuff. And now we're going to be back talking about what we always been talking about. Of course, the typical indie comic scene losers who sit there and think they're going to say a bunch of nonsense and we're not going to laugh at it. Yeah, we're always going to laugh at them. They're always going to be laughed at. And we're going to continue to laugh at them as long as they continue to say stupid things. Now, of course, there's some things that didn't survive the move. Obviously, not everything was brought. So this will be the setup for just right now until I get some more stuff kind of set up in the background here. You'll kind of see stuff be moved around and see stuff be changed and see stuff be added. And of course, there's some lighting I need to get. But yes, Bloodroot number 2 did get announced. There are 35 days and 13 hours left to go. Absolutely awesome. I can't wait to pre-order mine. Still have to get in on that. That's why you see the 1 there in the cart. I'm going with cover B for this one. Bloodroot number 1 was one of my favorite books from the Rippaverse. It is absolutely crazy that once again people still believe that this is the only thing I support. I mean, that's kind of what happens when you have a company that consistently puts out books and against a person who, I don't know, makes promises about books coming out that never see the light of day. We're going to be talking about one certain individual. You already know who it is. It's your usual throat goat, Sciver, who thinks that he's going to allegedly dance on the grave of Rippaverse, even though, again, you once again steal a line from your enemy, I guess, someone you would consider an enemy, someone who considers no one their enemy, myself included. I don't consider you an enemy. I consider you a nuisance and an absolute idiot. And we're going to continue laughing at you because you are, I guess, we'll say the lolcal of the year because you continue to do stupid things like smoke crack and lick urinals, and you think you're gonna continue to say stupid things and think, oh, you're gonna get a alleged lawsuit against me, I guess, for alleged defamation when I can't defame you with your own words, because that's all I use against you is your own words. You know, I think a certain someone has a message for you.
They're doing crack!
Now, please put down the crack.
80 dead fucks dogs.
Now, what we need to let everybody remember is that you said this yourself.
I'm nobody. I used to be somebody, but I'm nobody now.
And that's all you're going to continue to be, Ethan. You're going to continue to be a nobody. In the indie comic scene, as a bunch of other people do much better than you. I understand that John's Longbox recently had Chuck Dixon on his show, and you wish you had Mark Miller on your show. I'm sure you're going to continue to beg and beg Mark Miller to have you on your show as you continue to try to talk nonsense about me as usual, but we're always going to be positive about other indie comics that are coming out, like Bloodroot number 2, like Phenomenova issue 3, like Heroic Tales number 2, like Relentlessly Bullied Hero number 3. These are books that I've all backed. So I think it's hilarious, $88,000 in sales and still has 35 days to go. Of course, I haven't put in my pre-order yet. 35,589 total sales and 501 total figures for the figure line. Of course, the Ripazine 5 does end today at 11 p.m. Central, sitting at 61,871 total books sold. Now, I believe if this was a full-fledged comic, this would have been another 6-figure campaign, but it is only a magazine for $8 with different previews for Norfolka, Great War Separation 3, Black Eye Club, and The Curse, which are all books that I'm sure will be either coming out this year or early in 2026. Now to poke a hole in yet another narrative that you claimed was going to happen or was happening with Isum, with the whole adjective in front of Isum's name, we have definitive Yaira, because apparently you think that because there's an adjective in front of a name, you think that Eric once again lost a lawsuit because you're an absolute fucking moron who thinks you're the king dick of comics and you're not. Just because you got outdone by a rookie that's been doing this for 3 years while you've been doing your 31-year career, nipping off the ankles and heels of Jeff Johns, as you usually do, while Jeff Johns is well on the way to having another huge success with his Ghost Machine and all the different individual singles that come out of Ghost Machine, considering things like Exodus and Rook that come out of that, from that book itself. You're an absolute moron who looks stupid once again, thinking because there's a definitive in front of Isum that he somehow lost the name. And now you have definitive Yaira, so once again, your narrative is once again destroyed. 13,426, 208 books sold. Of course, this is yet another product that I don't believe needed to exist because you have the Omnibus, which has years 1 through 3. But of course, this is for people that just simply want to look into Yaira and only read Yaira. This is a thing that all comic companies do. Now, of course, there's a clip going around claiming that you're going to do a frivolous lawsuit, that you allegedly lost thousands of dollars, I guess, claiming that you're going to go after a person named Sturgis when that's not my name. That's a city that has an event with bikers. You continue to say this name as if it's my actual name, which it would be hilarious going into a courtroom and claiming that this is my name, and you'll obviously get laughed out of the room because there's nothing defaming about what I say about you, because everything I use is your own words against you, because you're a stupid fat motherfucker with enough fat in your brain to clog it up with nothing but garbage. You really have no argument, you have no case. So you could go on and do this lawsuit. I'm sure there are plenty of people that will be against you and donate to make this go away, because it's not going to go anywhere except into a dumpster, just like your whole career. But it's also hilarious watching someone like Tism Spencer, of course, calling people anti-Ethan and calling people weirdos while being a pansexual weirdo himself, when no one's really anti-Ethan. They're anti-being screwed over, and they're people like me who are just against typical anti-consumer practices that someone like a grifter like Ethan Van Sciver continues to do against his audience, including me as being someone who no longer watches him and has backed his books in the past, and still waiting close to 5 years for Rainbow the Fruit and over 2 years for Cybercut 3. But I find it hilarious because you have this weird beef against, John's Longbox, who's actually making comics and putting comics out that are much cheaper and are actually getting to people's hands and people that are actually able to read them. But because you have nothing going on in your life outside of your crappy gambling addiction and the fact that you can't get books out worth a dick, I mean, yeah, you're gonna cry about all this bullshit and you're gonna talk about books that don't even exist yet, like Fearsome and Rainbow the Fruit and Pit and Gemshock. They are nowhere to be found, and a bunch of other comics like Monster Island, Wraith of God, and Graveyard Shift, which people don't talk about any of those things, considering that, people like Liam went on John's Longbox show and couldn't even name you a single character from Graveyard Shift, even though he claimed that it's a comic book made for him, and he couldn't even name one character. Yet you could sit here and you're able to name the characters from Rippaverse. There are plenty of people who can name the characters from the Rippaverse because people have actually seen these books be a thing. So, and other people have actually read them. Oh yeah, we have Cybercuck, which again over 2 years for number 3, and Glorious Rex, which part 3 is nowhere to be found at the moment. 1 and 2, sure, fine. Monster Island, which is a Graham Nolan thing, which people will go at Graham Nolan because he acts like a cuck for you. Wraith of God, Aaron LePresti being the nicer of the people that are around you. It's kind of funny how you don't mention She, even though there's been more She books that have been released than Cybercuck, and I happen to have all of them except for the most recent one, which is Gatecrasher. Graveyard Shift, which is also another book that's had 5 releases, plus I think a prequel book, which again has more books than you. Fearsome, again, doesn't exist. I don't even think people have the preview book. Rainbow the Fruit is over 5 years. Gemshock doesn't exist. It's gone to the printer maybe 3 different times and still no one has that book. And Pit already exists without your scam of a trade paperback nonsense that's going on with Mandy Two-Finger Insert Summers and Drunken Dale Keown every single week. But I happen to have Zaylin, I have Bloodroot, I have every single Rippaverse book I've ever ordered because I get them and read them and love them. With Evan Boyette saying, technically the dwindling backer pool for Van Sciver's Comicsgate has IOUs. I discourage moonwalking from Comicsgate. Dance moves from the geriatric, sedentary, and obese will produce more broken hips than super chats. Yeah, the same guy who broke a chair on another show with Tim Pool's crew. That guy, we're talking about that guy who broke a chair, being over more than likely 400 pounds. This is also the same guy, if y'all remember the video where this man talked about how Chuck Dixon was a has-been, even as he's being used and writes multiple different stories and makes millions of dollars and all that other stuff because people actually respect Chuck Dixon as a legendary writer in the industry. So for you to sit there and, be making comments about Chuck Dixon and calling him a has-been, even though he's a better writer than every single person in CG as of right now, in my opinion. So what are we actually talking about, bro? You're talking about a bunch of books that don't even exist, talking about moonwalking. Meanwhile, How are you going to moonwalk on the grave of something that's more superior, more successful than your stuff? I mean, it actually exists. Even Marvel and DC moonwalk on your career because you practically have no career outside of being a low-cal drama tuber. That's your career now, drama tuber. So before you talk about grave or moonwalking in anybody's grave, you should probably look in the mirror, lose about 200 pounds, and stop breaking some chairs and stop smoking crack and licking urinals.
They're doing crack!
While your wife's at home. Like, you should be taking care of your family. You shouldn't be crying about the black guy every goddamn day of your life. But I digress. I think I've said everything I needed to say in this video. Thank y'all for checking out this video. Good to be back. Good to be making videos. I appreciate y'all for being here. Smash like, comment below, subscribe for more. Smash the bell for notifications. That way you get notifications for all the videos and live streams, possibly live streams. We'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.